Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Chris. It's another amazing episode of Financipation. This channel is all about making money. It's all about saving money. It's all about building generational wealth. And it's all about financially emancipating yourself from generational poverty. A lot of times on this channel, everybody, I talk about 401ks. I talk about Roth IRAs. I talk about HSA accounts. I talk about individual retirement accounts. I talk about ETFs. I talk about index funds. And what are those things exactly? What are some of these concepts? For this particular series, I'm gonna call this the financial investment series. I'm gonna call this the investment series rather. And on this particular podcast, I want to talk about one of these types of investment strategies that a lot of times in our community we don't talk about. And for this particular one, we're going to talk about individual retirement accounts, IRAs, and specifically Roth IRAs and why I like them. So full disclosure, everybody, just so that you know who I am. I studied engineering at North Carolina A&T State University, graduated. I've been a practicing engineer for nearly 20 years. And additionally, I got my MBA from Drexel University. Over the course of my career, I basically have helped lots of people as far as building generational wealth, as far as stacking their paper, as we say. And I've also done design and built some extremely amazing engineering wonders and engineering feats. So with that, guys, let's get started. When I obtained my MBA, I basically paid over $120,000 to get that degree. And when I graduated, I learned a lot of very powerful things. I learned a lot of very amazing things about money. Just to let you guys know, I was always an entrepreneur. I was always a hustler. I basically always figured out ways to legally stack paper. And when I graduated with my MBA and I finally started understanding how money really worked, it kind of pissed me off because I was just like, why in the world do people have to spend this amount of money to finally learn how money works? And I basically, as a result, wanted to start giving away that knowledge for free. And that's the reason why I started this channel. And that's the reason why pretty much we're going to talk about what a Roth IRA is and basically what an IRA is in general. So an individual retirement account. Firstly, an individual retirement account, it allows you to save money for retirement in a tax advantaged way. Once again, the word is tax advantaged way. There are two types of IRAs. One is a traditional IRA and the other is called a Roth IRA. And for this particular video, as I said earlier, we're going to talk specifically more so about Roth IRAs. So the traditional IRA was started in 1976 and the Roth IRA was created in 1997 by Senator William Roth. And the term IRA is just an acronym for individual retirement account, okay? So at the time of this recording in 2022, in both a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA, the maximum amount you can contribute every year to your individual retirement account or to your Roth IRA is $6,000 if you're under the age of 49. If you're over the age of 49, the maximum amount that you can contribute is $7,000. So in a traditional IRA, you don't get taxed up front, you get taxed at the very end. In a Roth IRA, you get taxed in the very beginning, and then thankfully, your money grows tax-free after that. And that's the reason that I prefer I prefer Roth IRAs, because I love the term grows tax-free. That way, when you pull out of the bank, you don't get taxed on it. I recommend that literally everyone who's under the sound of my voice, who's listening to this YouTube channel, by the way, please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel, it helps the algorithm. But anybody listening to this podcast, my advice is for you to, for the most part, to invest in a Roth IRA for two reasons. First and foremost, America has been cutting taxes for well over 50 years. Since in the 1970s, regardless of the politician that was sitting in the White House, America has been aggressively cutting taxes. And today, taxes are lower than taxes are at their historic lowest just about. As a result, at some point, Uncle Sam is going to have to get serious about the amount of deficits and about the spending that we have in this country, and they're going to have to raise everyone's taxes to what they were in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, and 1950s. So right now, with taxes being historically low, you want to get taxed on your individual retirement accounts. Why? Because the taxes are low. And that's the beauty of a Roth IRA. You get taxed in the beginning and you don't get taxed in the end. And in my opinion, in about 30 or 40 years, at some point, America's gonna get serious about taxes once again, and they're gonna raise everybody's taxes to what they were basically in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. So as a result, you want to get taxed now, not then. Secondly, a Roth IRA, it benefits people who are going to retire at a higher tax bracket than when they started. So you have to be a complete and utter loser in every sense of the word, and I do mean this, to be 20 years old, to work a job for 40 years and then never get a promotion. The reason why I say that is because can you imagine how competent of an employee you have to be to literally work at a company for 40 years and you retire at a lower tax bracket, you don't get one promotion. So basically, people, that's who Roth IRAs traditionally benefit. If you are working in one tax bracket, you should be getting promotions. You should basically be making more money at 50 than you were at 20. And as a result, Roth IRAs are set up to benefit people of that bracket because they lower the tax bracket that you're in because it's a tax advantage account. So unless if you're like a bikini fitness model, a TikToker, you're on OnlyFans or something like that, or whatever you like. You're in some kind of adult industry. Who knows what it is, where you're more valuable at 20 than you are at 40. For everyone else, maybe for you, the traditional IRA is better because you're going to be making more money at 20 than you will at 50. But for literally everyone else, you should be making a lot more money at 50 years old than you are at 20. And as a result, you're the type of individual that a Roth IRA benefits immensely. Okay, moving forward. How much should you invest and why should you use individual retirement accounts? All right, very simple. Every year, every American basically can invest, depending on your tax bracket. Depending on how much money you make, and I'm gonna go into that later in detail. You are basically eligible to contribute roughly $6,000 a year or $500 a month every year until your Roth IRA. So if you were under 49 years old, you can contribute up to a maximum of $6,000 a year into your Roth IRA. And if you're 50 and above, you can contribute $7,000 a year or more. So every month, I would tell anybody, if it's possible, figure out a way to save $500 and put it into your Roth IRA. If you can't figure out a way to save $500, save what you can, throw that money into your Roth IRA. So whether it's traditional IRA, whether it's a Roth IRA, whether it's a SEP IRA or whatever, retirement account, the tax deductible accounts are roughly $6,000, and that's the maximum you can invest every month. So because I'm an engineer, because I deal in a world full of numbers, I like to use examples for everything. Let's say you make $100,000, okay, and let's say you put $6,000 into your Roth IRA. Because you put $6,000 of $6,000 of your dollars into a tax deductible account, Uncle Sam, the federal government, is not going to tax you on the $100,000 that you made that year. They're only going to tax you on $94,000. Because you're getting taxed on $94,000, even though you made $100,000, over the course of time, that builds up. And I'm gonna tell you exactly how much money that builds up to over a 42-year career. All right, when you should use it. When should you invest in the Roth IRA? So full disclosure, anybody, I said from day one, I'm a hustler. Anybody that's actually listening to this video, you can check my receipts. So if you go back to any of the middle schools that I went to, any of the high schools that I went to, I was known affectionately as the candy man because I sold candy. Snickers, Reese's Pieces, Skittles, M&Ms, Jolly Ranchers, Blow Pops, pretty much. I sold so many different types of candy that I actually had security guards at school making sure that that's all I was selling. So basically, I made so much money selling candy, people. I ended up buying my first car. I bought Jordans, all my Timberlands, all my basketball jerseys, all my football jerseys, all my clothes, everything, all my fresh gear. I bought all my do-rags, my fitteds, everything. I bought all that stuff selling candy from 7th grade to 12th grade. I made so much money doing that. As I said earlier, I bought my first car. And the day I turned 18, I basically went to charlesschwab.com and opened up a Roth IRA account. Why? Because even at that age, I understood that if there was a way that I can make money and then basically put in a tax advantage account, that's the way that you essentially stack paper. So my advice to every parent that's listening to this channel is that the day your son or daughter turns 18, for their 18th birthday, you should basically open a Roth IRA account with them. Now, me personally, I like Charles Schwab because when I was a broke student or whatever, when I was a broke high school student or whatever, Charles Schwab allowed me to open up an account basically with $0, with nothing in it. So I was able to open my Roth IRA with no money down or whatever. As of the time I'm recording this video, Charles Schwab still allows you to basically open an account basically with nothing down. If Charles Schwab is not your cup of tea, you can go to Fidelity, you can go to Esurance. There's a lot of them out there. But in general, people, our community does not talk enough about ways to build generational wealth. And in my opinion, the Roth IRA is one of the 3 pillars pretty much that allows you to build generational wealth. When I was growing up, I never heard the term Roth IRA in my community. I never heard that at my grandparents' house. I didn't really hear it in my household. I didn't hear it in a lot of different places, but this is one of the ways basically that people build generational wealth. And in our community, we can start talking more about it because this is a very easy way to basically help your children get a leg up. And I'm gonna go, and as I said earlier, I'm basically gonna say some numbers as far as how much money you're gonna retire with if you put $300 or $400 every month into your Roth IRA. So moving forward, how do you set up an account? How do you set up a Roth IRA? I'm partial once again to Charles Schwab because that's who I basically went through, and I do a lot of my a lot of my accounts with them as far as my 529s and things of that nature. But you can go to Esurance, you can go to Merrill Lynch, you can go to Vanguard, and the beautiful thing about it is while there are some small differences between the different brokerage accounts, for the most part, they're all very similar. Go online to charleschwab.com. If you're more of a phone call person, give them a call. In less than 30 minutes, they'll essentially help you set up a Roth IRA for yourself or for your child. All right, moving forward, what are some things that you should not do? Do not just listen to this video and say, oh, that's a good video, I like Chris, and then you just move on. No, like, comment, and subscribe. The reason why is because if you like and you comment on my gear on my channel, it helps the algorithm, and I can send you guys more free content. So firstly, don't just watch this channel. I want you to basically watch it, and I basically want you to like, comment, and subscribe. Secondly, it is flat out irresponsible with Charles Schwab and a lot of these other brokerage accounts having literally nothing down for you to start a Roth IRA. It is flat out irresponsible, basically, for you to listen to this video and not to immediately open up a Roth IRA for yourself or for your child, basically, if you're eligible to. So that is one of the ways, as I said, basically, that you can build generational wealth through a Roth IRA. Third, do not, and once again, this is for the people who actually already do have a Roth IRA, do not put money into your retirement, into your individual retirement account. Do not put money into your Roth IRA and then take it out. For example, because I live in a world full of numbers or whatever, I'm gonna give you some examples about this. Let's say you have $100,000 into your portfolio, into your retirement account. And let's say somebody comes with this great idea. See, I have this great method. If you give me $50,000 for this business, I'll figure out a way to basically quadruple it. So you decide, I think it's a good idea if I take $50,000 out of my $100,000 retirement account. And if I do that, it's gonna help me stack a lot of paper. This is essentially what happens, unfortunately, if you withdraw your money prematurely from your Roth IRA. First and foremost, there's a 10% early withdrawal fee that Uncle Sam's gonna hit you with. So that $100,000 that you had, it goes down to $90,000. Secondly, depending on the state that you live in, there are other fees associated with it that can be as low as 20% or as high as 40%. So that $100,000 that you thought that you had, if you prematurely take it out before you're 59 and a half, it's going to conveniently look more like $60,000. And more importantly, because of the compound laws because of the amazing power in the compound laws of interest, you basically lost a good 30 to 40% of your chunk of money that no longer is allowed to build itself up, and you're costing yourself generational wealth. So my advice to literally all my people, whether you're going into whether this is a great business deal or not, is to not, unless if it's like a serious, I'm Chris, I'm going to be homeless if I don't basically dip into my Roth IRA account. I have my advice to all my clients is to not touch that account. You should look at your Roth IRA essentially as a fire and forget account, where the money you put in that, you're not touching it until you turn 59 and a half. And by the way, if you are in a situation where it's either dip into your Roth IRA or you're homeless, you've also messed up, because you should have a retirement account basically to rely on so you can get another job. But that's a video for another day. Next, who isn't eligible to contribute to a Roth IRA? Generally speaking, I tell everybody to open up at 18. You can actually open a Roth IRA before you're 18. You get to set up a custodial account. Basically, an adult has to basically help you set up an account. So if you're 15 or 16 watching this video and you want to set up a Roth IRA, sorry, you basically have to have an adult help you do that. Having said that, if you do want to set up a custodial account, for the most part, they're very similar. Only thing is, you don't actually have control of the account. Whoever the adult is does. But the people who don't qualify and cannot contribute to, who are not eligible for a Roth IRA, are those who are not 18. That's one. Secondly, if you make too much money, if you are a high income earner, you make over $140,000 a year at the time of this recording, and you are single, you can't contribute to a Roth IRA. The federal government says you make too much money. Secondly, if you're married, but you and your wife's combined income is over $214,000, you also can't contribute to a Roth IRA. Why? Because your household is considered a high income household. And there are other investment strategies that you can pretty much use to invest if you are fortunate and blessed enough to be in those tax brackets. Because less than 1% of Americans, by the way, make $140,000, and less than 1% of American households basically make over $214,000. So if you are making that kind of money, count your blessings. But there are other different ways that you can basically contribute to taxable, so that you can contribute to tax advantage accounts. So in conclusion, Roth IRAs, as I said, there are 3 building blocks to building generational wealth, in my opinion, for the poor and for the middle class: HSA accounts, 401ks, and Roth IRAs. And like I said, just from my experience growing up, I did not hear the term Roth IRAs or anything like that. Basically, when I was growing up, I didn't hear those at the barbecues. I didn't hear those at the swimming pool parties. I didn't hear those at the skating rinks parties, whatever. I didn't hear that stuff at church. Roth IRAs are one of those things that it's a building block that other communities have used for almost centuries to build for decades to build wealth. And that people who share my reflection from our communities, we just don't really talk enough about. And that's why I started this channel, because I want to change that. I want more of our people to start talking about these type of things. And I want more Americans in general basically start building the type of generational wealth that you can easily build with a Roth IRA. So lastly, because I live in a world full of numbers and I'm an engineer, I always give people financial examples to kind of basically break home why I say what I say. So let's say you turn 18, right? And let's say you're about that life. Let's say basically you're putting your money away. Every month, let's say you basically put $500 a month into a Roth IRA. So over the course of a year, every year from 18 to 60, you put $6,000 every year into your Roth IRA. Now, 6,000 times 42 is roughly only $252,000. But because of the compound effects of interest, and because of the compound interest, at $252,000 that you put into your Roth IRA, when you retire at 60, is nearly $2 million. I'll say that again. If you invest your money into a Roth IRA, $500 a month, which is $6,000 a year, from 18 to 60 years old, over that 42-year period, you invested roughly $252,000 into your Roth IRA accounts. But inside that Roth IRA, it's not $252,000 when you retire at 60. It's close to $2 million. That is the power of compound interest. That is the power basically of knowing pretty much what a tax advantage account is. That's what knowing what some of the rules of quote unquote the wealthy. Basically, that's one of the ways that people legally build wealth in America. They put their money in tax advantage accounts, such as the Roth IRA, such as the HSA, such as the 401k. And in this particular video, I want to focus on the Roth IRA because I have people constantly hit me up and say, okay, Chris, what is a Roth IRA? How do I set it up? Should I go with a Roth IRA? What's the difference between putting my money in a Roth IRA and a regular checking account? And literally, the difference is you go from putting $252,000 to having $252,000 in the bank to $2 million in the bank. That's the power of knowing. That's the power essentially, people, of investing in a good Roth IRA. And as I said earlier, the Roth IRA is one of the 3 pillars of building generational wealth, in my opinion, for the poor and the middle class. And for people who share our reflections, it's one of those kind of things that unfortunately we don't really talk a lot about. It's not something that I heard, like as I said earlier, it's not something that I heard at church, not something that I heard at barbecues, it's not something that I heard at the block parties growing up, but it's just not something that we talk about. And I want to change that, because in America, there are certain ways that you can build generational wealth, and investing intelligently is one of them. So that, everybody, is your boy Chris. Please like, comment, please subscribe. I hope you like this video, part of what I like to call the financial and the wealth series. And I look forward to educating you guys on a couple other easy concepts as well. But take care, everybody. God bless. Charles Schwab, that's the people who I typically go with, but Fidelity is good, Vanguard is good, Merrill Lynch is good. With that, everybody, take care. Have a good one, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, please comment, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one, okay? Take it easy. Peace.